I am Marietu Sidibe and this is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Kairaba Avenue. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main local and international news headlines. President Barrow on Friday launched the program for accelerated community development that seeks to benefit at least over 500,000 people in 63 communities. Members and support staff of the Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters are undergoing a two-day consultative forum to build their capacity on human rights. Stakeholders in the agricultural sector on Thursday visited ongoing research centers to view various crop varieties currently being tested by the National Agricultural Research Institute, NARI. In international news, this year, the theme for Global Hand Washing Day, commemorated annually on October 15, is "Our future is at hand, let's move forward together." We look at what it means in the Gambia. On this day in 1987, the president of Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara, was assassinated after only 4 years in power. We looked back on his life and legacy. In sports news, the Gambia National Olympic Committee on Thursday informed the press that the Queen's Baton relay will arrive in the country on the 19th of October, spending 3 days before proceeding to its next destination. Those were our main headlines. Now the news in detail. President Barrow on Friday launched the program for accelerated community development that seeks to benefit at least over 500,000 people in 63 communities across the country. Momodu Lamin Chai reports.
The program for accelerated community development is a development initiative by the government of His Excellency Adama Barrow in order to decentralize community developments, and this is geared towards improving the socio-economic needs of people at rural communities by providing them access to water, electricity, roads and agricultural facilities. It's a life-changing impact of a project that will address the needs of people at rural communities by giving them more access.
In the Gambia, there is a development disparity between urban and rural communities. To solve this, the Program for Accelerated Community Development Project was initiated by government as a contribution to the Global Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), and in line with the National Development Plan's priority for a revitalized and transformed economy for the well-being of all Gambians. The development program is implemented through the Department of Strategic Policy and Delivery in the Office of the President.
Deploying social innovations and equitable distribution of our resources across rural communities must happen and is central to our economic sustainability, resilience, value and wealth creation. Undoubtedly, this would lead us on the path towards truly addressing poverty challenges and uplifting the quality of livelihoods and restoring hope and dignity to the peoples of the Gambia.
Through the PACD pilot project, 31 rural communities are targeted to benefit from the construction of 16 boreholes, which are reported to have been drilled and serving people for the provision of clean drinking water for at least 3,500 households. For access to electricity, 10 communities at Lower and Upper Nyomi and Jokado in the North Bank region are to be connected to the national grid. Here is a representative of the beneficiary communities.
Your Excellency, we the masses from the rural Gambia at the most extreme end of the country thought we are not within the budget line of government. However, today your government has proved us wrong. For the first time in history, we felt considered as part of this country, as full Gambians.
This two-year pilot project, which began in 2020 as a development strategy, has a component for enhancing transportation of people, goods and services to improve socio-economic growth through road constructions. Also, to promote food security 38 rural communities in NBR, LRR, URR and West Coast region are set to be supported with access to agricultural tools.
PSCD is in line with the National Development Plan 2018-2021 and complement the Gambian National Agriculture Investment Plan, Food and Nutrition Security 2019-2026, and the agricultural sector policies priorities.
The UNDP is an implementing partner and contributed $1 million to supplement government's budget for the PSCD, which commenced in April last year but could not be launched due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The PSCD initiated during an unprecedented COVID pandemic context has been very relevant and timely in accelerating development results, making sure no one is being left behind in the development journey.
President Adama Barrow describes the project as a one that is close to his heart due to his concern for the long suffering of Gambians. The project is funded by government with $250 million is allocated to it in the 2020 budget.
1,000 households are projected to benefit from this pilot intervention. Under the labor-saving devices of the food security component, 38 communities will benefit from various labor-saving devices. These include 19 tractors with full accessories, power tillers, combined coarse milling and threshing machines, rice milling machines, rice threshers with powered engines, and a flour milling machine.
For climate change resilience and adaptation, 26,000 trees have been planted along with 800,000 mangrove seedlings planted for wetland conservation in the North Bank region. To support businesses, the project will benefit 125 small and medium-sized enterprises in NBR. Mahmoud Laminche, QTV News.
Members and support staff of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters are undergoing a two-day consultative forum aimed at building the capacity of the participants on human rights. Aliou Cissé reports.
The training, which opened on Friday at the National Assembly in Banjul, is organized by the National Human Rights Commission with the support of the British High Commission in the Gambia under the project Strengthening Human Rights in the Gambia. The two-day training is part of a series of activities including the reviewing of the basic and secondary school curricula and understanding the caste discrimination amongst tribes and communities. The commission, established by an Act of Parliament, is answerable to the National Assembly, particularly the Parliament's Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters, which for the first time in the history of Gambia's Parliament was established by the National Assembly in June 2018. Emmanuel Daniel Jove, Chairman of the National Human Rights Commission of the Gambia, applauded the good working relationship between the committee and the commission, which requires further strengthening and frequent interface.
Considering the important role that the National Assembly plays, and in particular this standing committee, in the promotion and protection of human rights, there is a need for greater collaboration and coordination between the National Human Rights Commission and the Standing Committee for better promotion and protection of fundamental rights and freedom. We will be exploring the possible strategies to employ in order to further strengthen and cement this partnership.
Joshua Colborne, Deputy British High Commissioner to the Gambia, said the Parliament, particularly the Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters, should play a key oversight role in ensuring government fulfills its human rights obligations.
This cannot be done without ensuring that there is compliance and compatibility of bills and subsidiary legislation with international human rights standards. This therefore places great importance on ensuring that the capability of committee members is enhanced in various aspects of the human rights to effectively scrutinise the compliance of bills and subsidiary legislation in relation to human rights. The British High Commission looks forward to continuing working with the National Assembly, the National Human Rights Commission and all other stakeholders over the course of the programme and beyond to ensure that the culture of human rights and fundamental freedoms are enshrined in all of our dealings.
Mariam Jack Denton, Speaker of the National Assembly, who doubles as the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters, welcomes the training while reaffirming Parliament's and that of the Standing Committee's commitment to work with all stakeholders in the promotion and protection of fundamental human rights in line with international standards.
It is well known that the National Assembly, and in particular its Human Rights Committee, has a special role in the promotion and protection of human rights, a responsibility which they share with the Commission. Notwithstanding this shared responsibility in human rights, and owing to its primary role in lawmaking, the National Assembly is best placed to give effect to human rights, take practical measures to prevent abuses, and to ensure that the law provides practical means through which remedies may be sought for alleged violations.
This consultative meeting is also aimed at consolidating the already existing good working relationship between the two bodies and also to develop concrete strategies to better protect fundamental human rights of everyone living within the jurisdiction of the Gambia in order to bring back and cement the culture of rule of law and due process. Reporting for QTV News, I am Ali Usise.
Stakeholders in the agricultural sector on Thursday visited ongoing research centers and various crop varieties currently being tested by the National Agricultural Research Institute, NARI. The field day visit is part of an annual convergence of agri stakeholders organized by NARI. More in this report by Ansumane Esonyasi.
The annual field day visits avails NARI officials and key stakeholders in the agricultural sector, especially farmers and policymakers, an opportunity to assess firsthand the compatibility of different seed and crop varieties sourced overseas to the Gambian weather, with a view to recommending them to farmers. It also gives them an opportunity to discuss about the challenges confronting NARI, recommend possible solutions, and directly engage concerned stakeholders for possible intervention. Thursday's field day visit started at the NARI Research Site 3 in Yundum, where various crop varieties, the majority of which are sourced from overseas, are currently being tested. Giving a general overview of the ongoing research activities, Dr. Demba Trawale, Director General of NARI, and Dr. Lamin Diba, Director of Research at NARI, revealed that they are currently carrying out trials for 16 improved maize-selected varieties, salt-tolerant rice varieties, 7 groundnut varieties, and 5 Findi varieties acquired from Bissau. They also thank partners such as FAO, the NARI board, and farmers for their continued support.
It can be cycled, instead of going for 3 years, can also be shortened if we have irrigation facilities. So instead of depending on the rains annually, you can do your research twice if you have irrigation facilities. So that's shorten the period of 3 years, probably to 2 years or 2.5 years. So that's another thing that could be done. Yes.
Thank you, Didi. Because when you look at rainy season crop varieties, our farmers, it's a major challenge for them. Rainy season, there are several varieties of vegetables which we will not be able to get to the doorsteps of our farmers. So we have made research on that and acquired improved varieties of vegetables which we are screening at horticulture. And we have also screened some very promising varieties of cassava.
Various researchers took turns to explain the methods used in the trials and the adaptability of the various varieties currently being tested, as well as their level of resistance to pest and drought. Impressed by the presentations, officials promised to lobby and facilitate the provision of the required support to NARI. From Site 3, they proceeded to another NARI research center in Yundum, where trials for 9 cassava varieties, onions, apples, cocoa, and many other crops are being implemented. Said Drame, Chairman, NARI Board of Directors, and Honorable Kajali, member for Jara West, who also sits in the National Assembly Committee on Agriculture, both said the visit was worthwhile and gave assurances of their commitment and support to NARI's research.
To assure this nation that we are ready. We are ready for a change and we are ready to do research with a difference. But now, here comes our request to both the National Assembly and to the respective ministries who are supposed to support NARI. Going by the NAP Act, there are 3 key ministries from which we're supposed to tap resources, and I guess they'll be informed, if they are not aware of that, to support NARI to do the kind of research that will represent the interest of the farmers.
We are farmers, sons and daughters of farmers, elected by farmers as well, to represent them in the National Assembly. So Biras Aso, we are there to do whatever you come forward with that is in the interest of the farmers.
Meanwhile, researchers at NARI have raised concerns about the lack of irrigation facilities and inadequate funding of the state of the institution's labs, which they say is also affecting their work as they are unable to carry out certain research activities. They will be hoping the support of Agriculture Committee members who were on the site visits will make a difference. Ansmane Sonyasi for KTV News.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we will have some more local, international and sports news stories.
Sign Language Interpretation Service is proudly supported by the UNDP Accelerator Lab.
Looking for the fastest and easiest way to receive money transfers from abroad? Well, QMoney and RIA just made it happen. Now you can receive international money transfer from RIA directly into your QMoney account with no additional cost. Once you receive an SMS alert about your transfer, walk into any QMoney agent across the country to receive your payment for free or use the money immediately to buy credit, QPower and other QMoney services. It's fast, safe and convenient. For more info, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Calpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. This year, the theme for Global Hand Washing Day, commemorated annually on October 15, is Our Future is at Hand. Let's move forward together. The day provides an opportunity to encourage people to wash their hands with soap at critical times, something we are supposed to be used to due to the coronavirus pandemic. Ajibinto Drame has more.
The day is founded by the Global Handwashing Partnership as an international handwashing promotion campaign to motivate and mobilize people around the world to improve their handwashing habits. It brings together the expertise, ideas, resources of the public and private sectors around the world to increase awareness about the importance of handwashing with soap as an easy, effective and affordable way to prevent diseases. The day was first commemorated in 2008. Since the COVID-19 pandemic started last year, around the world, measures were put in place to contain the further spread of the virus. Among them is the frequent washing of hands. Dr. Buba Manjang, Director of Public Health Services under the Ministry of Health, says although there was an initial adherence to this, people have now moved away from hand washing to the use of hand sanitizers. He adds that it's important for people to practice hand washing to break the transmission of diseases.
This is just to remind people that hand washing is key in breaking disease transmission, the chain of disease transmission. So, and we all know when COVID came, hand washing became key in this. So when it comes this 15th October, that is this Friday, it's just to remind people that, look, the practice of hand washing is very key and very important in reduction of diseases, not only for COVID, but even other diseases. That's as mentioned, diarrhea, respiratory tract infections, and the like. So this is a way of, we are encouraging everybody to make sure that we resort to, if you are not practicing, to make sure that we resort to hand washing.
Dr. Manjang says it's a collective responsibility to effectively promote hand washing, especially in rural communities.
when hand washing facilities are taken to some public places, especially in some communities in the regions where water tend to be an issue. It doesn't mean that water is completely absent, but like access to water in some of those communities was a little bit an issue. But what we did, we at each point where we have the hand washing facilities, we make sure that we have people responsible. So that's why the whole issue is holistic approach. That is, we have to collaborate and partner, with others to make sure that our community is key in this partnership to make sure that these things are effective.
To improve access to water and improve hygienic practices, United Purpose, the Gambia, supported many communities with wells. Bubasi, project officer, WASH United Purpose, explains.
Institutions, communities, they need to come on board to make sure that this habit of day-to-day hand washing during key critical times are being implemented or are being practiced at community level, at schools. So once this habit is being taken care of, people will get into the practice of doing hand washing even without being told.
For hand-washing practices to be inculcated in us, behavioral and attitudinal change may need to be embedded or enforced, especially in schools, to ensure the momentum continues and it becomes everyday practice beyond the commemoration of the day and not only during a public health crisis. Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
On to international news. On this day in 1987, the president of Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara, was assassinated after only 4 years in power. Almost 34 years to the day, on 11 October, the Burkinabe authorities announced that 14 men, including former President Blaise Compaoré, are going on trial for his murder. Mamadou Mbodj has the rest of the story.
Time has not been able to dim his iconic appeal across the African continent. Stickers emblazoned with his image in his trademark red beret adorn taxi windscreens across West Africa, and much has been written, said, sung, danced, and created in honor and in recognition of his life and legacy. A guitar-playing army officer, Thomas Sankara came to power in a popular coup on the 4th of August 1983. He was armed not only with a gun but with a vision to fundamentally reverse the structural social inequities inherited from the French colonial order. According to the Ugandan academic Mahmoud Mamdani, when Sankara took power, he called the late Samir Amin, the Egyptian intellectual, asking him to travel urgently to Burkina Faso to discuss a challenge. On arrival, Samir was told by Sankara, and I quote, "You have told us that we must have the courage to disconnect. Before we could gather that courage, the French have taken the lead and disconnected us. What shall we do?" End of quote. Samir said he was flummoxed because he had not imagined that the question of deconnection would first arise in a country as poor as Burkina Faso. Whatever Amin might have advised him, Sankara introduced what one commentator calls the most ambitious programs of sweeping reforms ever seen in Africa. He first cast off the colonial designation of Haute Volta, Upper Volta in English, and donned on what has been described as a dynamo of progress under the proud name of Burkina Faso, land of upright people in one of the local languages. His revolution, later became known as the Burkinabe August Revolution, lasted a mere 4 years, but his accomplishments, to some historians, remain unparalleled. He focused on the marginalized majority and made clear advances in healthcare, gender equality, food self-sufficiency, and small-scale agricultural production. According to one report, Burkina Faso became a net exporter of foodstuffs. According to one of his biographers, total cereal production rose by 75% between 1983 and 1986. Scores of schools, health centers, water reservoirs, and nearly 100 kilometers of rail were constructed with little or no external assistance. According to another report, in 1984, he organized the vaccination of 2 million children in little over 2 weeks, defying the skepticism of donor agencies. Before environmentalism became a buzzword, he had championed environmental conservation with tree planting campaigns and greening projects. In 1983, Upper Volta's literacy rate stood at 13%. By 1987, Burkina Faso's was at 73%. His refusal to compromise on ideals for expedient pragmatism earned him enemies. On 15th of October 1987, he was shot together with 12 of his comrades at the presidential residence and buried in an unmarked grave. He was 37 years old. The person who headed the successor government was Blaise Compaoré, his childhood friend and Minister of State at the presidency. He immediately denied any involvement in the murder and would go on to rule for 27 years. Despite frequent calls to do so, Compaoré never made any serious attempts to investigate the murder. In 2014, he was forced to flee to neighboring Côte d'Ivoire during a mass uprising. His successor, Roch Marc Christian Kaboré, decided to investigate the case, and earlier this month, a court in Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, indicted former President Compaoré and 13 others for their roles in the murder of Thomas Sankara. He is now popularly referred to as the Che Guevara of Africa, and in one of his interviews he said, and I quote, "You cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. In this case, it comes from non-conformity, the courage to turn your back on old formulas, the courage to invent the future." For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mbouch.
Quite a beautiful piece about Sankara. On to sports news. The Gambia National Olympic Committee on Thursday informed the press that the Queen's Baton relay will arrive in the country on the 19th of October, spending 3 days before proceeding to its next destination. Babakar C has the rest of that story.
The last time the Queen's Baton relay visited the Gambia was in 2012, and in October of the following year, the previous government pulled the Gambia out of the Commonwealth of Nations. The Baton will travel for 294 days, connecting communities in every corner of the Commonwealth, embracing unique cultures, sharing stories as it passes through all 72 Commonwealth nations and territories. This collective journey is expected to ignite hope, solidarity, and collaboration for the next generation, with these stories leaving us all inspired to take on the challenges that matter most to us. The Baton will spend 3 days in the Gambia before departing for Sierra Leone. Abdoulaye Jallow, the Secretary General of the Gambia National Olympic Committee, gave us a breakdown of events for the 3 days the Baton will be in the Gambia.
After arriving in the Gambia on the 19th, would usually spend the night at the head of state's residence after a short ceremony at the airport. The Baton would be taken to the State House to spend the night. In the morning of the 20th, the Baton would start from the State House with His Excellency participating, running with the baton to the Banjul Square, and where short statements would be delivered by His Excellency, by the British High Commission, by the former President of CGA Africa, which is Alhaji Bax Touré, the President of the National Olympic Committee, who also doubles as the Commonwealth Games Federation President, would also deliver a statement before the Baton takes its round into Banjul.
The Baton will visit Banjul, KM and West Coast region. The Secretary General takes us through how athletes and students will have the opportunity to run with the Baton.
We have identified schools that would take part in this activity with the help of the schools' sports associations. And also we have started to identify the runners who would carry the baton. Maximum, we have about 50 runners because it's very controlled by the Commonwealth Games Federation. So we would eventually come out with the list of runners from Banjul through the rest of the journey.
Mohamed Jane, Executive Director of the GNOC, talks about the importance of the Baton coming to the Gambia.
Normally, prior before the Commonwealth, they will always allow the 72 countries to have a test of how the game is going to be like. So it's a kind of encouraging people to start knowing that the Commonwealth Games is going to be held next year, and the athletes involved will also fully participate. by rolling with the baton. So in particular, this Commonwealth preparations like this Queen's baton, we are going to involve all the sports that are identified for Birmingham. They are all going to fully take part so that they can start feeling the spirit of the Commonwealth Games and start the preparations for next year.
The international route for the baton spans an impressive 294 days, spending between 2 and 4 days in each nation or territory, covering approximately 90,000 miles, with over 7,500 baton bearers trusted with the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to carry the baton in their community. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
That's all we have for you in this bulletin. Thank you for watching and have a nice weekend.